Today is going to be a very unique day, and I want to welcome you because today we're going to start to get a little insight into who runs the island. And you're going to find it really isn't the board, it isn't a few individuals. It's a lot of individuals that work very hard to make your life beautiful. You're going to meet some of the staff today and find out not only what they do, but more importantly, what they're all about, where they came from, how they got to where they are today. I think it's so important that we realize that these are people that have lives outside of Williams Island, but have dedicated their lives to Williams Island. And I think that's such a unique combination. But before we do meet them, I just want to give you a little brief update on how things are going. Obviously, you see we've started the construction on the Island Club and the pool area, and that's going very well. Actually, it's going very quickly. Demolition is very well underway. We're still on schedule, looking to open it up for the 24th season. That will be spectacular. It's on budget. We don't anticipate any changes to what's happening, and it looks like it's going exactly as we had planned. And I say that today. I can't promise you that tomorrow, but it looks good. Downstairs here, we're in the offices, and the new deli should be reopening in a few weeks. And it's going to be amazing. We're going to have new takeout foods. We're going to have the gelato, ice cream, seating area in there, computers to work with. It's going to be a Starbucks, but a Williams Island spa Starbucks. We're doing the refresh upstairs. We have the new salon being redone now, which is looking beautiful. It opens up, actually, by the time this is aired, it'll be open. We're also doing the refresh on the spa itself, where the wallpaper, plumbing, tile work, bathrooms, locker rooms are all being redone as we speak. And this is just to name a few things. The construction on the road work should be completed. It's a county job, so I can't promise you, but eventually it will get completed. But at least there's access going throughout the entire island. So at this point now, there's nothing to report other than all positive things. Financially, we are in great shape, as you're going to hear today when we meet with Thomas, our CFO. Things are going along operationally. We're on budget, and it's all good. So I know sometimes we don't always have those kind of reports to give, but it's thrilling to be able to say that at this point, everything is on schedule, everything is on budget, no assessments as we promised you. And it's been a pleasure, again, on behalf of the board. We can't tell you how much we appreciate your patience with what's going on, but we are here for you. And I think in a few minutes, you're going to meet some of the most amazing people, hear their stories, and find out why Williams Island is so spectacular. Good afternoon, and welcome to Williams Island TV again. You heard who's going to be with us, and we'll go into more detail about that later. But I thought it would be very interesting for the people on the island, all our residents, and there's so many of them, to meet some of the people that really make it all happen for us. You know, it's interesting because we have 3 restaurant outlets, we have 16 tennis courts, we have 10 pickleball, we have a spa second to none, we have classes, we have just about everything you could require to enjoy your life and live in a resort. And with all of that, you have a $25 million budget. We're doing a $20 million renovation on the island. We're putting in new pools, new clubhouses, new spa refresh. Yet people never wonder, and I guess it's like going to a Broadway show. You sit down at a show, you sit down in a theater, you don't want to know what's going on behind the scenes. You want to see the show, and you want to enjoy it, and you want to have fun. But what goes on behind the scenes is probably more amazing than the show itself. So I thought it would be fun today if we met some of the people that really do run the island. And as much as I'd like to say it's me or the board or whatever, it has nothing to do with us. The people that you're going to meet today are some of the people that really do make it happen. And the first one you're going to meet is a character. You've all seen him on the island. We have to keep an eye on him. We put a cowbell around his neck so we know where he is on certain occasions. CJ Rivera. CJ is Director of Operations for the property management. And I don't know if you realize we have 75 acres of property to oversee here. All the mechanical, all the AC, all the lawn maintenance, the street maintenance, the construction, everything falls under CJ's purview. So with that, we're still trying to figure out how he does this amazing job in a day and a half.
That's good.
The other days we can't usually find CJ.
Oh, on the tennis patio, right?
Oh, it's a tennis patio.
Making sure that everybody's content.
But what I'd like to do today is not ask you what you do. We know what you do.
Mm-hmm.
We want to know about CJ. Tell us a little about where you come from, your family, how you got into this. But I know there's a journey from when you started
That's correct.
to what you're doing now.
That's correct.
Where'd you go to school? Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in a small town called West New York, New Jersey. It's right next to Hoboken.
Oh.
Literally, you throw a little rock there, and you've hit the other town of Hoboken. So I lived right on the border. I grew up there my entire life, and then moved down here to Florida when I got a job with the airlines. I was a captain for 767 for Continental Airlines for 25 years.
Okay, wait. So let's stop now, and I want to go back. You start growing up in Hoboken,
Mm-hmm.
or a stone's throw away.
Just stone's throw away.
Okay, and how did you get from there to being a captain? Let's take one step at a time, because that's an amazing feat.
My lovely mom, of Jewish descent. My mom is Rita Cohen. So Rita decides that her son is a little bit crazy in the town. So she says, "You're going to go and be a pilot." I had no idea what she was talking about. So she takes me to another small town called Teterboro, New Jersey. And she goes, "You are going to be a pilot, and you're going to get out of the streets." So, okay. So I started flying. So at the age of 13, I got my license. I got my license for pilot, private pilot, commercial, and instruments. And then I started flying, gaining more hours. And before you know it, I went with Continental Airlines as a mechanic. Because I started as a mechanic, and then I cross-trained over from a mechanic, which I was there as well for the 25 years, and then went into the pilot program.
And they have a program that trains you to be a pilot. So, but you had to have a pilot's license.
I had my pilot's license. I had all my hours, so I met all the requisitions and all the requirements. And one day I went to the chief pilot and said, "I want to be a pilot. I am a pilot." And she goes, "Okay, let's put you in." I went to the pilot program. I started flying 737-100s, 727-100s, the old school stuff that, everybody would know. And that's how I started becoming.
So how long were you the co-pilot before they moved you?
I was actually an engineer. I was the one that got out in the rain. I was the one who checked the tire pressures. I was the one who did all that, the work that the captain, the first officer would do. So you have to move up the way.
So there used to be three people in the cockpit, an engineer and a pilot, a co-pilot. So you were the engineer initially.
Engineer. I was the engineer for 5 years. I was the one to get out there in the cold and the rain.
So you were
with the flashlight. While the other two looking out the window, everything good? Yeah, we're good. So then after that, I worked on my way to be a first officer. And then after that, I became a captain.
So why'd you stop?
Life's a little different in the airlines. Everybody says, it's all glorious, which I did. I saw the whole world. I've been from one side of the world to the other. But then there's a family was involved. I was married for nearly 30 years, but that became an issue because I was never home. So, so I said, you know what? So I stopped flying, believe it or not, for my family. And now you're home all the time. Now, before you were never home. Now you're home, and the littlest thing really. So life changes, and you really don't know. And I got married young. I got married about 24 years old. And then sometimes, things happen in life, come into a crossroad. And then something.
So how'd you go from pilot
to this?
To this.
So my ex-wife, she worked for with the resorts, and she said, "Listen, if you're a pilot, you can be a mechanic. I believe you can do this. This is in your wheelhouse."
Sure.
So she knew a lot of people in the Wyndham, in the high end. They said, "Listen, my husband just left the airlines." I said, "Can you find a position as a director of maintenance or something of that nature? His background can show it." So I was interviewed, by a gentleman just like you. And he threw all these questions on.
Well, it's the first time you called me a gentleman. I said, I like that.
Well, we're on TV.
So. Not many people call me a gentleman.
Sometimes you got to throw that out there loosely. So, he interviewed me. He goes, "Absolutely, you've got the job." So that was like in 2008. And then they said, "Since you're a director, you have to get your CAM license." I said, "Okay, so why?" I said, "What's the CAM license?" So, well, if you're in, this is business, it was the hotels and timeshare, you're going to have to, because you'll be dealing with contracts. I said, all right. So I've had my CAM. I went and got my CAM. I studied for my CAM. A year later, I wanted to get my CAM. So I've got that now 15 years. And it's been a blessing because I didn't even know what a CAM was.
Interesting.
But yes, I have my CAM for 15 years, and it's played out ever since, and I've used it ever since.
But, it's very interesting. I don't know if many people know how you got hired. Because CJ got hired by accident. Very true. We were searching for a new property manager at the time. I believe everyone remembers, and most people remember Jeanette Giddings, who used to be here. And she moved on. And at that time, Steve Betlaga was our CEO at of the island. And he had just hired a property manager for it. And I went in his office one day and I said, Steve, this guy's not going to make it. There's something not right about it. So I called the head of HR unbeknownst to Steve, and I didn't mean to go behind his back, but I just wanted to see. I said, who was the number 2 that almost got the job? Call him. I want to meet him. Lo and behold, who walks in? You.
Yes, sir.
And next thing we know, the other guy's gone. You're here. Not because I overrode Steve, but you actually did have better credentials and you had more experience and you had the CAM license, et cetera.
A 6-hour interview helped as well, I believe.
I don't think so.
I was 3 hours in that first process and another 3 after that. So when HR calls me up and says, are you interested to come back? I says, I don't know. I'm not going through another 3-hour interview, am I? Oh, no. But hold it. Another 3-hour
interview was what, 10 minutes?
Yeah. You asked me a couple of questions, said boom, boom, boom. We clicked right to the air. And I go, oh, this guy's the bomb. I just keep me away from the other guy, though.
CJ has a problem with leadership. He wants to be, but that goes to the next question, though. Where do you see yourself in 10 years? You're doing what you're doing now. You've had a phenomenal life. I've
had an awesome life. I also, like I said,
what's your next journey?
Oh, I do also have a business on the side that I buy and sell commercial airplanes, and any kind of inventory that's commercial, like any commercial airplane. Business is doing well, thank the Lord. But when it comes to here, I would like to sit in that seat. I definitely would like to be CEO because you always have to have a vision. You have to have something to strive for. If you don't have a goal, for me, as long as I don't have a goal, I have something to strive for, and that's my goal, will be sitting in that position.
Well, you seem to have the credentials, and life is a journey for you, but you've done so many different things. But people don't realize this job that you have is probably one of the greatest learning curves and the best education. Because you're dealing, first of all, we have close to 4,000 or 5,000 people that live on the island. Mm-hmm. You get to deal with the people, unlike a hotel where 3 days they're gone and you have another couple of thousand. You live with these people day and night.
Honestly, people on this island, my family.
Yeah.
I really say that because I see them on a daily basis. We interact. They ask me, how's your family? I say, how's everything with you? I see some more than others. And then when it comes towards the time when everybody's going to come back, and when they come back, welcome back party, you get to see people you haven't seen in 6 months. So there's just the diversity of family, when I say from the South Americans, the Mexicans, or Venezuela, or whoever's here. You get to be this family. It really does.
Tell me about your family. Speaking of families, let's hear about your family. I know you have children.
Yes, I have 3 beautiful children. I'm going to be a grandfather soon. Wow. My youngest got married 2 months ago, and then must have been a honeymoon baby because I'm going to be a grandfather. She's my youngest. Wait.
Let's go back to that a minute. She got married 2 months ago, and she's having a baby.
Yes. So I said, thank God it was a honeymoon baby. So she's my youngest, and then I have a 27-year-old middle child, and my old son is 30. I was married for almost 28 years, and now I'm actually dating a lovely woman that I can tell you she's been great in the process of putting my life back together. Sometimes you don't think that that's ever going to happen, but there's always a little bit of a raise always end
for a little learning. So you have 3 great children. Do they live around here?
No, they live in Orlando. Everybody lives in Orlando. So when I get to see them, I was just there last weekend, and I'll take a drive in the car. No big deal. Traveling for me has never been an issue. So I jump in the car, and we'll have either a weekend together or we'll go somewhere together. But the bond that I have with my children is very strong.
Well, and something about CJ most people don't know, the bond with your family is strong. Because I do remember, was that your mother lived in?
My mom lived in Holstead. That's the reason why I actually came down here, because my mom was ill. And I left Orlando. I just left. I said, you know what, this is it. I told my mom is number one. She's always been there for me, as you heard from the beginning. And I walked off a job just to say, listen, I got to be there for my mom. So that's when I interviewed with down here. And I said, okay, I'll take it. I said, I'll take the pay cut. I don't care. I just got to be next to my mom. So my mom did the homestead. So my mom, I was down here for the 6 years with her. And then she passed away a year ago. I was along with
you were going back and forth.
I was back
during the week. You were at Homestead, and on weekends you were in Orlando.
That's correct. So I did that for 3 years, and then I finally said, "Okay, Mom, I'll stay down here with you." It was full time, so I felt like I was 15 years old again because as soon as I walked through the door from coming here, she goes, wash your hands. Make sure you're outside. You've been playing outside. I said, yes, Mom.
You're still a little boy.
Yeah, you're still a little boy.
It's always
My
mom.
brother would get mad as heck because my mom would have my food ready. She'd cut up my food for me and practically feed it to me. And my brother would get upset about that.
So one last question. If I saw your kids right now and they were here and I said, tell me about your dad, what would each one say? There's 3 of them.
Oh, my God. They will all probably say that he's uncontrollable in the crowd. He'll just say anything that comes to mind. He makes us laugh. Great dad. And every day that I live for him.
And things haven't changed, have it?
No. So usually like either yourself, my brother, or somebody else. Mine are funny because I've heard it so many times this week. We're on speaker. Everybody.
Yeah, you can be a little bit raunchy.
So, I've learned to, okay, let me not say much when I'm on phone.
But would you say that you're a good politician?
I've learned from the best. Actually, you learn to, not to be a politician, you learn to, you got to hear both sides. And everybody says there's just 3 sides of a story. But it's not to be the politician, it's to be what the other person's needs are. If you can meet them, if you can meet them, and try to meet in the middle.
That's right.
And that's a fair conversation to say, that you really want to meet them in the middle. Can I give everybody's answer or complete what they need? No. But at this island, we have a budget. I can't just go buy something or do something that I can't afford. That's like everybody's checkbook.
Right.
If it's not, the money's not in your checkbook, it's the same process. So if I can't do it today, maybe I can do it next month. Mm-hmm. So I try to just explain that to people, and then they'll get to realize that, you know what? He did tell me next month or the month after or the month after that. And then things do come around.
So I lied. I have one more question. I know you want to sit in the chair over there.
Yeah.
There has somebody sitting there. But in order to get from where you're doing now, what you're doing now, to that chair, and when that chair to me is leadership.
Absolutely.
That's all. In any company, leadership qualities are basically all the same. Mm-hmm. What are your strong points, and what do you think you still have to learn or accomplish before you get to that chair?
Well, the strong points is always listening. That is the key, is to listen to everybody's problems coming across the table. And can you let them at least just finish it? Because a lot of times that person or anybody in that chair wants it right off the bat. Let me tell you my point of view. No. Let it ride. Let us see what's going to happen. What are they going to say? And then just don't say a word. I've learned that throughout my career. That sometimes you want to come out guns blazing. That doesn't help. No. It really doesn't. And then, like I said, my background has always been strong leadership. My team has always been a family. And I use that word very strongly. You've heard me say it many times. To me, family is very, very, very dear. So my teamwork, as the people on the island here, are my family. But you treat them with dignity and respect.
And you earn the respect. Absolutely. You don't tell them you have to.
You earn
respect, right?
And respect in every which form and aspect is given. It's not you got to earn that. You just don't think.
You use the word family, and this people on this island, it is family. Mm-hmm. And it's an amazing group of people, the leadership that we have on this island. And I'm on the board 15, 16 years, but irregardless of that, we have an amazing board. We have a great group of guys and women that are on there that really have no personal agenda and care about this island. No. But as important as we are, we have people that are here 30 some odd years. We have you that's young, but we have others 25 years, 20 years, 18 years, 25. It's amazing the longevity of our staff that we have here.
Because at the end of the day, everybody, like I says, they come to work not just for a job. They literally, like I says, people that co-workers that I have, or even other ones from different departments, and like you said, been here 30 years, they say the same thing. No, you're my family. I can have everybody in the department. They see me, the first thing they do, they give me a hug. How's your family doing? How's your family? And they give me...
Well, they're more hugs from the women or the men. I want to... It's 50-50. Okay. You better be careful now. You got a girlfriend. Okay. I want that down.
Everybody pretty much is, like I said, it's a great... If you see everybody smiling, you don't really see an employee here that's not smiling. If they're not smiling, maybe they had a rough day that day, but then after that, you talk a little bit, they're smiling again.
Well, because you're their friend too.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not always that bad.
Well, CJ's truthfully like a son to me. He always has been. He's a pain in the neck sometimes, but unfortunately, he drives me crazy, but I love him. But as you'll meet, as we go further today, there's a lot of CJs on the island. There's only one CJ like this, but when I say a lot of CJs, a lot of dedicated and hardworking people that really, truly work 24/7 to keep this island running what we went through with the pandemic was amazing. We didn't miss a beat. We ran the island and nothing got lost in the shuffle.
No, I don't know.
So I can't thank you enough, CJ. You know that I love you.
Thank you. Likewise, sir.
And the island, I wanted them to meet what I know.
This is the first time that I've been interviewed in this almost 6 years here, and like I thought it'd just be the hot seat. Like, oh my God, what's he going to ask me?
Well, the next time is the tough one. Now we're going to meet Arleen pretty soon. So if you want to see that one, is the one you want to stick around for.
Oh, Arleen, no, she's great people. I love Arleen at that. She's sitting over across the way there, and
That's the way she is.
give me that look. But as a person, I've seen her grow as well here, even though we pretty much started about the same time.
Yep.
And her going from her position now becoming a director of communications and stuff like that has been awesome to see that your coworkers are growing. I mean, that can't be any better. I mean, when she became director, like, just
Well, you know what's unique about it is we have a board, and one of the most important things I feel that my job is to keep the employment safe, make them feel heard, make them feel secure in their jobs, and give them an opportunity to grow. And that's what our job is, not to do your job, give you an opportunity to do that job.
With the board seeing the board has always given us the flexibility to us do our jobs. And when we need help for any reason, we've always been able to go to the board, to yourself and others. And I said, George and the rest, they've been very, very helpful with us to get something done. And if I had to do something that wasn't in the budget, so listen, I need this taken care of because of whatever reasons, the board's always helped.
Well, and also CJ believes in the axiom, ask forgiveness, not permission.
It's politics.
He circumvents the approval process.
I'm sorry, but I get it.
Anyways, I love you.
Thank you.
I'll leave it back.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll be right back. Good afternoon and welcome back. You just heard with CJ, and he is a character. Now we go to the other side of the spectrum. We go to the more serious side. We go to the more right brain side. We go to the artistic side, the creative side. Because Arleen runs the media, runs public relations, makes sure you know what's going on the island. And she's probably got the toughest job because everyone always says, I didn't know that was happening. I didn't know we were doing that this week. I didn't know. And yet we do email blasts, we do this, we do that. But aside from what you do here, because I think people by now know, what we really want to do today is find out about Arleen. Yes. And I know you're sitting here today, but you didn't start your life here today.
No.
Tell us about your beginning, where you got to, how you got to Williams Island, and where do you want to go?
Well, I was born and raised in New York, Queens, New York. I went to school of Visual Arts. I started off there. And I ended up in the Art Institute of Fort Lauderdale. I've always had a creative streak in me.
Is that the one on 17th Street?
Yes.
Okay.
It's not there anymore, but yes.
It was on there, yeah.
But I've always had that creative streak in me. And back in the day in high school, they used to give you a little test to kind of figure out what your strengths and weaknesses are. And, it came up that my best job opportunity would be a graphic artist. So I researched it a little bit. It was back in the day before, Google.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I just went, I made a beeline for that. So I went to school, started off in Manhattan, ended up in, Fort Lauderdale. And
it's quite a change.
Yes,
Manhattan to
yes,
Lauderdale.
It was. I actually loved it. It was that first winter here that I was on the beach and there were people shoveling snow in New York. So I fell in love with it really, really, really quick.
A little bit of jazz here.
And then, my first jobs were at print shops. I did a little here and there. And then I ended up meeting my future ex-husband. But I ended up meeting him, got married, had two beautiful kids. I was married for a long time. I was married for 15 years. And then after, I got divorced, I was out of the work field for a little bit because I was a stay-at-home mom for about 5 years. And then, I got out there again and I started working for the Humane Society of Greater Miami, which is why I ended up with 3 dogs. They were all wonderful. My time there was absolutely wonderful. They do a great job.
Yeah, they do.
And then from there, I happened to meet somebody who worked here. And when I was ready to move positions, that person just out of the blue contacted me one day, and I became the graphic artist here. So that's how I started here. I started with, being a graphic
So at that time, then Stephanie.
Stephanie, yes, it was Stephanie. Right, because she used to work for the Humane Society.
That's right. She was very big on that.
Right. She was a big husky person.
Oh, yeah.
So, so we met at an event that the Humane Society was, a fundraiser that they were doing. And we, had a little conversation. She gave me a call a couple of weeks later, and the rest is history. All ended up here.
It's interesting because I think she had some problems. Didn't her dogs attack her?
Well,
That's why she always had to leave.
Yes. She was the dog was old and in a lot of pain, and I think it was just more of a pain reaction. And she was very close to the dog up close, and ended up biting her right in the face. Yeah.
I love your field because it's almost like a blank canvas, and you can put whatever you want on it. But my stepson is now doing this. He's in the early stages. He's a whopping 25 and thinks he's 90, going on 12. You wouldn't understand.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Pretty typical of every kid. But he does graphic artists. They call it strategic marketing, for a better word. But it's a different world today because social media, it's no longer you put an ad in the newspaper. I know when I was building homes, we do ad campaigns. It was all newsprint. There was also, no one ever heard of TikTok and Facebook and all these other things. Today, though, between influencers and all the social media, how do you go? I mean, that's quite a leap.
It's a completely different world now because, before you would put an ad in a paper and it had a certain amount of circulation. So you had more concrete numbers. Now, there are so many avenues to advertise something. There's the social media, there's the influencers, there's, pop-up ads, there's your website, there's, it's just almost endless. And you have to kind of be a master of so many things. Like when I started, I was doing pay stubs, for goodness sakes. Now, you just boom, boom, boom in the computer, you send it off to the printer and they take care of everything, But now there's so many things. It's not only print, it's short videos, long videos, there's reels, there's stories, there's, so many aspects to it.
My son showed me something where there's an app, and it's an AI-related issue. And you say, I need an ad campaign for tennis balls. And within about literally minutes, you have a complete campaign with pictures, with names, with storyline, with copy.
Chat GPT.
Yeah. And it's like, what happened to the need for education? I mean, it's almost like now you're managing social media and AI. You're not really...
Well, I think everything is becoming more and more condensed, where back when I first started, you needed a graphic artist, you needed a copywriter, you needed a typesetter, you needed a range of people to actually facilitate an ad. Now it's literally one person doing everything. Chat GPT, unfortunately, is doing a lot of things that humans used to do, like copywriting. So, but I've delved into it a little bit. It's a fascinating tool that you can use.
But that is what it is.
But it's a tool. It's not, you can ask it a lot of things, but there's no human element to it.
Right.
And I'm sure it's going to develop more and more and faster. It's going to be at light speed that, things are going to change. But like in any industry, you have to be willing to kind of like change and use the newer tools that are available to you. But again, there's never going to be an AI that's going to replace humanity in general. I still know the residents and members of Williams Island. You know, the AI will never get to the point where you can say, okay, you know, come up with an ad campaign for Williams Island. Will it come up with an ad campaign? Sure. Will it know exactly, will it have that human touch? You know, not so much.
No.
I think there's, you know, we're not there yet.
Well, you know, it brings up two very important points, because to me, the pandemic started, to me, obviously it was a rough time for the world. And between people working at home and school being taught at home, and the kids got cheated out of socialization.
Oh, absolutely.
And when you're going to college and you're sitting in your room for 2 years learning with no one around you, you come out of college without the ability to communicate.
Yeah.
And then you see all of these social medias that are all chat and TikTok and texting. No one talks to anybody anymore.
Yeah.
And half the time they're never in the office to even see each other. And it brings up, because you're talking about this, we have someone on the island, names don't matter, who was a top executive with Revlon and big in the cosmetic industry. And he was also, and he and his wife, they were head of marketing and advertising and such, and they did huge campaigns back then. And they're starting a company now, or they're involved with a new company in the cosmetic field. And all of a sudden, they're talking about influencers, and they're talking about a totally different media type, and
Yes.
no more about going into Bloomingdale's and having a booth in the lobby and spraying it on somebody as they walk in and touching their hand and connecting. You've lost all that.
Yes. Yeah. Because now, you know, you get these huge stars, you know, let's say Kim Kardashian, you know, and Kim Kardashian just has to mention a Revlon mascara and it will sell out,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah, that's what's going on.
So, yeah.
And that's why they all start their own companies.
Yes.
Because why give it to someone else when they can do it
Right.
to themselves?
Exactly. So it's a very ever-changing, evolving industry.
So that going back to you, obviously you're in the crossroads right now of that metamorphosis.
Right.
You're changing your thought process. How do you like what's going on? I mean, how do you see yourself?
Well, I liked, you know, since I've experienced it, you know, the younger generation that are now becoming graphic artists and doing that thing, they don't have the benefit of knowing what the past was like. So, of course, they're going to prefer what they're doing now. I love some of the things that are happening now. They're exciting, you know, but like you said, you're losing that human one-on-one connection with your audience, you know, and it's all about, you know, who you saw on TikTok, or, you know, not going to the store anymore, not having somebody say, hey, do you want me to, you know, do your face, or do you want me to show you how this works? So it's exciting, but at the same time, I'm kind of nostalgic. You know,
you have two kids that probably are very big with social media today.
Especially my daughter.
I'm sure. So therefore, it's almost like you're learning from your daughter.
And yes. And that's how I keep, you know, keep innovating the things here, is, you know, keeping in touch with, you know, the 20, 25-year-olds, you know, 18-year-olds, and talking to them. It's a different world, and it's good to hear from them, because the demographic is getting younger and younger all the time here. And, you know, trying to be in the middle, you know, trying to find what makes the older generation happy and what makes the younger generation happy. So it's kind of like a juggling.
So what was more influential to get you to where you are now? Your socialization, your lifestyle, or your education?
I think my education was always my base, but I think it was the fact that I was always open. It's more like a personality trait that I was always open to learning something new.
Right.
Like I was never set in my ways. So, you know, when social media came about, because I'm pre-social media, I'm pre-internet. So when
You're
all
a crossover.
right, when all that came out, I was excited about it. I wanted to know about it. I wanted to learn about it. I wanted to see how I could use that to make my job easier. Just like, you know, using ChatGPT right now, you know, I've delved in it a little bit. I've played around with it, you know, because there's not only ChatGPT. It won't only write things for you, but there are AI tools that will do a video for you.
But you're in an awkward position because you can't give up on the old and you can't give up on the new, because the demographics of the island, like you said, we used to have an average age of maybe 58, 59, and now we're probably in the low 50s and late 40s because the young families are coming over in masses.
Yes.
So you have to deal with getting to the younger group and staying with those that
And not abandoning. Yeah, not abandoning.
socially not great at all this new technology. So you can't give up. So I guess your expertise works beautifully for the blade.
Yeah, I'm kind of like right in the middle. So I'm always excited to learn the newest and like latest things. And it's good to have kids that are the age that my kids are, because I have a 21-year-old and an 18-year-old. Well, sorry, 19-year-old now. So I'm learning things from them, and I always tell them, let me know what's going on, let me know what's out there. I want to know, because I want to see if I can use it to make people here, get the information out. Like, we're using WhatsApp now. We have our social media. We have our emails. We have our flyers. So I have a whole gamut of ways, to communicate with the island. And I'm always open to learning new ways on how to make it easier for our residents and members to get the information that they need.
So, it's interesting about with you, because when CJ was on earlier, we talked about where does he see himself in 10 years. But in your case, it's a little bit different, because years ahead for you will be an amazing learning curve of new technology.
And it's scary.
So you could have it doing the exact same job now as you're going to do in 5 years and do it totally different.
Absolutely, 100%.
You're not changing a motor in a pump where that's all you're going to do the next. You're going to literally have a whole new world of technology to deal with.
And it's and the innovations are coming at such a high rate of speed.
Yeah.
So that's why I like to go to the conferences and just, see what the latest thing is. Yeah, it's coming at
So do you see yourself in the next 5-10 years, this field, but with all the new technology?
Yes, absolutely. I'm excited.
Oh my God.
What's coming out.
It is. Well, because you're not going to get bored. It's
No.
starting your career all over again.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I should go back to college again.
So would your kids, if I asked them how you doing, would they love you and tell you how great you are? And what?
I have two of the best kids in the whole world. We really are tight. Because when I got divorced, they were very young, and I always made like my life about them, and even till today that they're older. I talk to my son every day. He's out in Orlando, in college, and my daughter still lives with me. I don't think she'll ever leave, but I'm kind of happy about that. But
Right.
yeah, they, we have a very, very tight relationship, and it's, it's morphing from I'm the mom to I'm the mom, but you can talk to me about things, because as they get older, they're going to talk to you about more, personal things. And I see that my kids, are always open to talking to me. So I think, knock on wood, did a good job that, they still talk to me. And they still.
I find the island and our staff that we have here, it's a unique. When I was in business building homes and whatever all over the state, I had about 300 employees.
Yeah.
And my job was really running employment more than running the business at some point. But as much as you think you know your people, you're not out there. You don't meet them. You don't see them all the time. Yet here we have the same 300 employees. And no matter where you go on the island, you know somebody, you talk to them. It is, as CJ said, we're a very unique family.
Absolutely. This is the most unique place I've ever worked in my entire life. And I love it here.
Yeah, it's amazing. I see it every day and I say, we are really blessed, because not so much because we have an amazing lifestyle, but we have a team of people that truly come to work and are excited to do great for us. And when I say us, the island, and enjoy it.
Yeah.
And they come to work happy.
And they're happy. Yes, exactly.
Must be because of me.
It's absolutely because of your leadership.
That's what I thought so. I didn't want to say anything, but I could tell. Well, I thank you so much. It's great to get to know a little bit about you. And we have a few more people we're going to meet today. But as you've met with Arleen and previously with CJ, this is why Williams Island is Williams Island. And we thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Welcome back. So we've had the pleasure of meeting with CJ, Arleen, and now let's talk money, because I think that's near and dear to all of our hearts. Running the island is not just about, making sure the grass is cut and making sure the food comes out right, but it's making sure at the end of the month we have money to pay the bills. And we're a $25 million budget. We have 300 employees, as I said before, and it's not an easy job. And being a CFO of a company like this is not just being someone that can work on a computer with numbers. Something causes those numbers. Numbers don't just appear. If you see a restaurant did $2 million, look what went on to make that restaurant do $2 million. You have 20 employees, you have waiters, we have waitresses, you have food costs, you have labor costs, you have liquor costs. So the person we're going to introduce now, Thomas Bertarelli, has been with us for a number of years. And one of the unique aspects of Thomas is, and what he brings to the table, is not just his ability financially. He's more of what I call a forensic accountant, for a better word, because he looks into things. He wants answers to things. He asks, why is this happening? And also, God help you if you make a mistake on the bill, because you're not getting your money. But that's okay, because he protects us. But behind all of this, there's a very interesting individual sitting here who his background is probably the furthest from being an accountant in most of what he has done in his career, but yet has been a major factor in his success as an accountant. So, Thomas, I introduce you, but what I want to know about Thomas is, I know you've gone through some health issues, and I know it's uncomfortable for you right now, and I really appreciate you being here. So if he gets a little grouchy and irritable with me, it's okay. He still will smile. I'm not going to ask you to go through your entire life, but I know you didn't start out as a CFO. I know you didn't start out in a restaurant business, and yet you've been in all of those businesses.
Correct.
How did you get there?
I actually did start out in the restaurant business because my father was with the Palm Restaurant.
Right, you're right.
So he was with the Palm Restaurant when there was only one restaurant there. And then they opened 2, 3, and he was at the opening team, and he led the expansion of the Palm Restaurant. And I was one of those latchkey kids that my mom said, do not go home and lock the door and after high school and just go in the house and do homework, because we were raised in Manhattan, and go stay with your father, which the Palm was in Manhattan.
So, I'm not to interrupt you, but I want to ask you something. In your 0 to 10, 12, 15, financially, you were comfortable, but you weren't rich, or you were. What was your what was your upbringing like at that time?
But we never, my mom never would say that we were rich. We always said we were comfortable and we didn't have to, we need for anything, because she owned a cheese company, and which was very lucrative.
Cheese.
Interesting. Mozzarella and ricotta cheese.
Wow.
And it was very lucrative.
Uh-huh.
And so she always taught us to be humble and never to show off what we had, even though obviously we had a townhouse in Manhattan, and we were, at the time when you're growing up, this was normal. I didn't think I was better than anybody else. And she made it that we weren't better than anybody else, that we always had to work. My sister didn't work right away. She was more of, I'll work when I get out of college. But with me, she made me go to work right away. First with a newspaper route, then working with my father at the restaurant in the Palm.
How old were you when you worked with your dad?
I started at 13.
Oh, so you got in there.
Before child labor laws said you can't work. And
which your father probably wouldn't have listened to.
He wouldn't have listened. And it was basically, you worked your way up. I went into ordering, and then went into supervising a restaurant, which when they opened the Palm 2, I was their assistant manager while I was in college, then became their general manager when I got out. And went to pharmacy school, not accounting.
How did you go from working in a restaurant, your family in the caddy, going to pharmacy?
So you had to go, number one, my parents always said you have to go to college. So I had no choice. And my father's an accountant, my mother's an accountant, so is my sister. So I said, well, I'm not going to follow in their footsteps. I'm going to be a pharmacist. So this is when they have local pharmacies in New York. And the local pharmacist, I spoke to him, and he signed my application to apply, and I made Brooklyn College of Pharmacy. and went to pharmacy school. Graduated, took my first job, and was fired right away. So,
Oh, wait, don't go away. Why were you fired, Thomas?
because I was behind the counter, you know, you wear the white lab coats. And back then you had to wear white lab coats. And the lady came in and she was showing me like her rashes on her arm. And I turned around to her and said, I'm sorry, I'm not a doctor. Go see a doctor.
Right. And that was it.
And that was it. The pharmacist called my father, who he knew, and said, this is not the type of job that your son should be in. So my mother and father said, now you're going to become an accountant and you're going to go back to school.
So it looks like mom ran the house.
Yeah, she was a driving force of everything.
Everything.
Yeah. My background is funny because I'm sort of like a mutt because my mom was not born in Italy, but her parents were born in Italy in Venice, and she is Jewish. And my father was actually born in England, but from Italian descent, and he's Catholic. So I was like a mutt.
You're a mutt.
Yeah. And that's how I became an accountant. And then...
so you got out of pharmacy.
Got out of pharmacy,
Just
went to accounting, and then the Palm let me down because they were going to make me a controller, okay, because I knew those restaurants backwards and forwards, but they moved the office to Washington, D.C. I was getting married, did not want to move, and I quit and went to go work at Richmond County Country Club and stood there 11 years before moving to Florida.
Get accounting.
In accounting. I was their controller. Knew nothing about golf courses, knew nothing about tennis. All I knew, they said, do you have a good food and beverage background? I could tell you food course, I could tell you labor course. They said, good, you're hired. I said, okay. Now, I lived in Manhattan, and they were in Staten Island, which is not it's not a lot of miles, but it wasn't an easy drive. And finally, we relocated to Staten Island before moving to Florida. And
then you came to Florida?
Then came to Florida and said, do I want to be an accountant? No, I want to go back into the restaurant business. So I got with a company that was one restaurant at the time called Mark's. And 6 years later, we expanded to 6 restaurants. And then we sold them all. And knock on wood, did quite well. And then I said, no, I'm not going to go work anymore. I said, that was a lot, opening restaurants, making sure the ones that are existing are doing well. You know, you're never home. And my kids were now growing up. And I said, I'll stay home. We don't have to really work too much. Mm-hmm. And that lasted a year and a half. And I said, got to go back to work. I can't stay home anymore. And there's only so much traveling.
How old were you at that time?
Huh?
You said that.
40.
Oh, you're young.
Mm-hmm.
And you stayed home at 40.
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised your mother let you.
She was not happy about it. She says, what happens to the money? You have no money coming in. I said, Ma, I made a lot of money in my lifetime. Don't worry about it. And I invested it, and I'm well, and I'm comfortable. And she said, no, you're never comfortable. You always have to keep working. And she worked until she was in her 70s. And my father worked until he was in his 80s. And they, like I said, didn't have to work.
So which one are you going to take after? Both?
Probably my father, because I can't stay home. Even if I'm home and I'm bored on a weekend, I'll come in. I have to keep busy.
Yeah.
So, there's so much I could, yes, you go out to eat. Yes, you can do beaches. Yes, you can have fun. But then there's that downtime. And that downtime, I'm not a type to person to relax. I got to keep busy.
So, okay, so you sell the Palms. You do what you have to do. You sit home for a year and do nothing.
Then I said, let me go back to work. And I became a district manager at Cracker Barrel.
Oh.
Which was completely, they asked me in my interview, have you ever eaten at a Cracker Barrel? I said, no. I said, I could tell you about financial statements. I could tell you how to run a restaurant. I said, this restaurant that we're having our interview in isn't run properly. And they said, you're hired. I said, okay. So I did that for quite a while until they changed the CEO. And then the new CEO became more of bottom line. When I understand when you're in a position like that, you have to worry about your stockholders, etc. But he was letting good people go and not understanding that certain markets like South Florida has to pay more than Nebraska just because of our cost of living. He didn't understand that. So he was letting people go, hiring different people who were not very good managers at all. And I said, I'm not going to stay here for this.
So you were the CFO at that time, though. You were the manager of the Cracker Barrel.
I was a district manager. So my district went from Jensen Beach down to Homestead.
Okay.
So I controlled those restaurants, basically oversaw the restaurants. General managers and the managers really controlled them. I oversaw them. And then I said, I'm going to take some time off. Didn't have the liberty of taking time off because I met with this lady who owned Flashback Diner. And we were talking about the restaurants, and we were talking about, and she said, what do you think of my restaurant? And I said, needs a little improvement. And that's before they renovated the one in Hallandale. And next thing you know, I'm with Pa as a partner. And
yeah, how did an Italian get along with a Greek?
We got along great. And she's a wonderful lady. We got along great, and she's a wonderful lady. And it was basically, we expanded. We went from Hallandale to Davie to Boca to Deerfield Beach Cafe in Deerfield Beach. So we kept expanding. And again, we were having differences of opinion. And basically I said, listen, you were the original owner of the Flashback Diner on Hallandale Beach. And basically I will step out of the picture and you can continue. And, that's what we did.
So then you were gone from there.
Then I left there, and I said, thank you very much. It was a pleasure. Nice. It was, we I can't say we left amicably, but we left. Whenever it comes down to money, it's never amicable.
Never.
After that. So there's always a little conflict. But, she's a great business lady, and she's a great person. And then I went to work for Penn, Florida. Penn, Florida, ironically, is across the street from the Boca restaurant that we opened, Flashback Diner, and I rented space in that building.
That's funny.
And went on the interview, and actually the owner of Penn, Florida, kept me waiting for like 2 hours, and I can't wait. So I was getting up, and I walked out, and I was walk into the elevator, and the current CFO at the time runs over to me and says, where are you going? And I said, I don't know. Obviously, if he has no respect for me, and he's leaving me waiting here for 2 hours when I had an appointment. I said, I'm sure he's a very busy man. He owns a lot of real estate, etc. I said, but this job isn't for me. No, you got to go. You got to come back. We're not going to find anybody. We've been looking. I went back, and then he came in and he apologized. And I worked there for a lot of years. And again, I left because as a CFO, you see the inner workings of a place, which sometimes is good and sometimes is not good. And I said, no, this is like a house of cards, and I have to get out. And at that time, just at that moment, I applied to Penn, Florida. I applied to, Williams Island.
So I've got to ask you, you said something very interesting, that you see too much as CFO.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, because you're not the CEO, you can only do so much, and you can either recommend they listen or they don't listen, in which case then the frustration begins.
Correct.
Do you find that, okay, now you're here at Williams Island.
Right.
I've worked for you since you started, so I know that you're more of the forensic type. You don't just look at a financial statement. You want to see what's behind it. You want to go to the restaurant. You want to go in, and you have the background.
Right, and people could become intimidated with that. Everybody becomes intimidated.
That's what I was
with
going to get to, yes.
They do, and they don't understand as a CFO, your job is not, anybody could push numbers and could push the button on a computer and generate a financial statement. But if you don't understand what makes those numbers, why they made those decisions, then you're not doing your job, as far as I'm concerned. So yes, so my job interacts with every single director who spends money. Obviously, we have obviously a lot of controls on the money. They cannot spend over a certain amount of money. They can't sign contracts. They can't do a lot of things without coming through my office first and then me sitting down with the CEO, the COO in our case. But
So communication, we talked about that before with someone else. It goes back to what I said at the beginning. Communication is probably more important because as CFO, Kate, and say, okay, Spa, you're overspending. You should have bought this. This isn't right. But do it in such a manner that they're not intimidated.
right.
Then you really defeat the purpose of what you're trying to accomplish. Do you have the charm? Do you have the personality? Do you have the communication skills to get your point across and get respected for those?
Well, I do, but it's a double-edged sword. Because they come to you, I get requests many times a day,
And I'm not talking about saying yes or no. I'm saying if you have to say no, do you have the charm to do it?
My scapegoat is the budget. So I'll say, listen, I said, we can't do it now because we got the budget that we have to keep to a budget. I said, but if you want to discuss it the next time the budget comes around, items, it's they know there's a budget there also. And it's not like the person who runs into the office first gets what they want. Most of it is done. Oh, fine. It works out fine.
When I had my company, our CFO we put a big sign on his window door because every office had a window. No.
Yeah.
Because no matter who went in, no matter what they wanted, no. And I laugh because
they've done that to my office. They've done that to my office too.
Well, because you're defending a budget, you're protecting a lot of people's money.
Exactly. So what happens is that people entrust me with their money. They entrust me to stay within a budget and not overspend it. And obviously, you like to do a little bit better than budget, but not too much better than budget, because that means then we really assessed, and we don't want to appear to do that neither. So you walk these fine lines every month that we do a financial statement, but my directors, I've been working with them for quite a while now. They know my personality. They know how to get things around me, I should say. They will try to do everything they can to get things pushed by me. Some things they can't. The minute they start going over budget and consistently, now there are times that you have to go over budget and it can't be helped. But if you're going over budget consistently, then I have to put my foot down and say no.
Thomas has a very interesting personality. And there's a couple of quirks within his personality that I guess we learned to deal with, as I'm sure he learns to deal with mine and everybody else's. Thomas has a lot of ability, and he knows the numbers, and he can look into the operation and pretty much see this could be this way, this could be that way. He may be right, he may be wrong, but he has an opinion. And I have realized with Thomas, when we have our, let's call it operational meetings for a better word, when we have our meetings that pertain to finances or contracts or things that will affect us in long term, I have learned, and I normally never used to bring Thomas into the conversation for two reasons. Number one, I respect his opinion, and he has, if he has nothing to say, he should know about it, because when it comes back to us on the balance sheet, he's got to know what it's all about. But more important, Thomas doesn't like to be left out. He wants to feel he's included. He doesn't want to feel, oh, wait a minute, what am I, chopped liver? Why aren't I there? Why aren't I sitting at that meeting? So we walk a fine line, but that's what we talk about in terms of how do you work with your team? And over the years, look, you and I have had our moments, and we've had our great times, but there's a mutual, I feel, respect.
Yes.
But it's got to be frustrating because you're not sitting in the CEO seat or COO seat, but yet you probably, in many cases, know as much, if not more, in certain areas of the operational side of some of these categories.
Very true. But that's why right now I knock on wood that I'm working with a very good COO who listens. And you need a COO who listens, especially to the CFO, to say, yes, you can do that. No, you can't do that. So Jeff Klein is very good with that. He's very good with that. And I get along great with him. I can't say that was in the past, but it is now, and in the past, if you didn't get along with it, then you go around and it would go to you and circumvent the COO because, there was problems there. But Jeff is not like that. So Jeff is very good with listening. He understands also money, and he understands keeping to a budget, and he understands that some things we have to go over budget because we need to, and we'll hash things out and go over things and, see how we could make it work. And so he's very good with that.
So would you say that your experiences in the hospitality business, which you have a lot of, has been a big factor in your ability? Because in the job you do, you're really also an educator. You have to educate your team. You have to educate the people who are spending the money on budgets, et cetera. But more importantly, you have to educate thousands of people that live here to give them the confidence level that the money is protected, it's being spent properly, it's on budget, we're making money, we're solid, whatever the case may be. Do you find all of your experiences has given you the ability to be able to do that better today than you may have been able to do 20 years ago?
Much better, much better. Number one, only because not only when I was in the hospitality business, but also for construction. I was involved with building restaurants. In fact, I used RCC also to build the Marks restaurants and to build the Flashback Diner restaurants. So these were, now you're taking yourself away from hospitality and getting into construction and getting into, again, different types of budgets and different type of deadlines. So, but no, I get along, like I said, everything is a double-edged sword. People they don't like. They'll like me today. They won't like me tomorrow. If I say no, then they don't like me for a week, and then
that's you.
That's fine, and that's my position. I'm not here to be liked. I'm here to watch the residents' money and make sure that we don't spend it foolishly.
So do you feel that this operation that you're in now, and in some cases I can say, where do you see yourself in X years? But I think you're where you are.
I'm where I am and where this is it.
And the reason I say it to you, not because you say it to me, but because I think your job, unlike a lot of others, and you, in your job, you are interchangeable with a COO, so to speak. Yeah. So you really, together, you make up the CEO.
Correct. And it makes it, and that's like I said, it makes it for a very good team. Yeah. A lot of people at the beginning thought that we weren't going to mesh together. And I said, we'll see. That's what basically you could do. But we actually make a very good team, the two of us. And I'm happy about that. I'm happy.
Well, no, because I was one that was concerned because knowing Jeff when I hired him and I brought him in, he's a very strong personality. And you are very sensitive because you have strong beliefs and you have confidence in your abilities. And sometimes that personality clash can affect it. However, Jeff mellowed, you compromised, and between you became a great team. But I think that it was unique that it happened because I think it only came from respect. Because we've had people here that you didn't respect, and no matter what you would have done, it would have never worked.
It never would have worked, no. Jeff knows what he's doing. He's been around the business for a long time, which is refreshing, which is nice. It's you love to speak to someone who's educated enough that you're having an intelligent conversation about things, and that's what I like about him. We could have disagreements, and we do, but in the end, it's always a compromise to get to the better good, and that's our goal, is always to get to the better good.
So would you say that over the years you mellowed?
Well, I'm not I think I'm mellowed more with my immediate staff. I used to treat my immediate staff, I expected too much from my immediate staff years ago, so I was very hard on them. And I look back and I say, "Oh God, what did I do?" But now I've sort of, I know their limitations. I know how they behave. They're all very good people. They're also very good accountants. Everybody has limitations, and I've learned to work with that. So yes, I've mellowed with my.
So as I said to the others, if I asked your kids about you, would they all say the same thing?
No, they still say I'm terrible. My daughter just recently got married, and I cannot tell you how many times during this wedding, since I paid for the wedding, we didn't speak for like days on end because she wanted one thing, I wanted another thing, and we somehow couldn't compromise. And she's as headstrong sometimes as I am, so it's very hard to compromise. And it was.
That's what your wife said.
She kept out of it. My wife said, "I'm coming to the wedding. The only thing I'm concerned about is my dress and buying it, and
you paid for it,
and I paid for it, and accessorizing the jewelry that had to be made to go with her dress." And,
okay,
and
I did yes.
And I said, "Yeah, go out and buy whatever you want. Go see the jewelry and have whatever you want made," and that was it. But me and my daughter sort of clashed. But in the long run, it was a great affair, and we compromised on everything.
But in life, forgetting the wedding, what would your daughter say?
She would say that I'm still as thick-headed as I was when they were growing up. I was very...
How old is your daughter?
She's 31. She's a veterinarian. And my son's 35. And he's...
What would he say?
Well, he says the same thing. What Dad said has to go. So therefore, we don't tell Dad too much because then he's going to say no all the time. So...
Sounds like the place here.
Yes.
Pretty much what the people do here.
So that's what...
They don't tell you too much.
Right. So that's my son. My son... He's a director now in Hollywood, so he does movies and not sitcoms.
So that means we're going to be stuck with you for a while here?
I think so. This is my last hurrah. After that, then when I say I'm retiring. Then they put me out to the pasture.
Till the next show.
Well, yeah. But I'll be...
okay, so last question, because I've gone through it. So I ask it from experience. We spend our life working. We spend our life learning, and your experiences are amazing. And the knowledge is invaluable.
Right.
Now, all of a sudden, one day in 5 years, 6 years, 2 years, whatever it's going to be, you're going to stop.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Are you stop? Because what do you do now? And I say this to myself. I say, okay, I'm not on the commission anymore. I don't run the company anymore. Yes, I'm here and I'm involved. But what do I do with everything I've learned all my life? What does Thomas do with all this knowledge that he's learned? You're not going to not do something with it.
No, you have to
give back something.
You have to give back something. And I thought of that, and I could go into the accounting end of it and do volunteer work doing tax returns for people who don't know how to do.
You're not going to do that.
But I will never do anything volunteer. I know me. I'd want to charge them. But it's difficult. It's difficult.
Could you see yourself doing guest lecturing and speaking and being a guest speaker at some of these schools and with the kids about how to plan your life? Financial planning, et cetera.
And the most important thing is how to plan your life. Most people come out of schooling and they don't know where they're going. Whereas if they sat down and made a roadmap of where to go, like if I made a roadmap when I was in high school, instead of just saying I'm going to be a pharmacist because I'm going to be a rebel, I would have realized, and if I would have watched pharmacy and been in a store and watched them and maybe worked in a store as a clerk, I probably would have made a different decision and went straight for accounting instead of starting a little bit later. But I didn't. So I think a lot of people have to do that.
Well, my daughter's a federal judge, and what she had found being on the bench for so long, and she's still there, is how many people come out of either the foster care program, they come out of split homes, they come out of whatever, or they graduate college, and they don't have a clue.
Right.
And she started, it's been going on a long time, a mentorship program, primarily in this case for women, because men usually have a little bit more knowledge coming out than women do, or they go to divorce, whatever. But she's brought an accountant, she's brought an attorney, and they have this program that gives back.
Right.
And it's amazing, she said, how many kids, I see it with today. Janine's 3 children graduated college, and yet, yes, they all have jobs. They're great. They're wonderful. They do phenomenal jobs, but yet ask them to write a check or ask them to do something very basic, and it's almost like people are clueless today.
Right.
You go to college and you come out knowing less than when you went in some cases. So I could see you doing those kind of things.
I would love to do that. I like to mentorship. I'd love to educate people, help them out along the way. You know, and I do that for my staff. I do that for people that I know.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people usually have financial questions, especially now with mortgage rates going up, and where do I invest my money to keep it safe and things like that.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because I have an idea for the island.
Mm-hmm.
And you said exactly what I wanted you to say. I think, and I'm serious about this, we have close to 300 people that work on this island. And some are very educated, some aren't, and we have all walks of life. It's normal. But I do believe if we had like a little Williams Island University, for a better word, where we mentored and helped those that wanted to learn more about a mortgage, about how to run a check, how to run your business, how to do this, just run life in general.
Right.
I believe that would be an amazing program to have. And I think someone like you and some of the people we have on our board who have been in business and have run companies, I think it would be an invaluable opportunity for some of the people we have to work on this island. And that way you don't have to retire.
And this way, right?
And you're not going to get paid, by the way.
That's okay.
Just letting you know.
That's okay.
Yeah, that's right. Free.
Most of the I call them opportunities, but most of the employment that I had, money never was a driving factor. In fact, money never, like even when I took this position. Yeah, I'm not taking cut in salary, but money was never discussed at the beginning, and it was, you know, whatever it is, it is. Obviously, I don't work for free, but you know, it's never been a driving factor.
So you're just
happy as I'm going to stay here, yes, until I retire, because that will be my retirement.
Well, I think you have the respect of the board and the staff, and
I work with a great board.
Yeah,
they're a bunch of very smart people. Even my treasurer is very smart,
and we have a great finance director.
Great finance director. Yeah, great. He's an excellent accountant, excellent CPA. He owned his own firm for years. Very smart man.
And you got a great president.
And I have a great president.
Amazing.
And sometimes he says yes, and I say maybe, or he says no, and I say maybe.
So in other words, what he's trying to say is sometimes I drive him crazy because I'll do something without talking to him. And he says, "What the hell did he do?" They must have gone to Bob.
Did he say that? No. Are they going to Bob?
Well, it's unfortunately people like to say, "Well, Bob said it's okay,"
and they do that.
And then of course I get a call.
And then I say no,
and you say no.
No, let me speak to Bob.
So,
yeah.
But anyway, it's a pleasure to have you. You know,
thank you. Yeah,
and I think the world of you, greatly respect you.
Thank you.
And I think you have the respect of all of us. And again, just a little sample of what we have here that makes this world happen for Williams Island. And here's the guy that watches our money. And I can tell you, nothing gets spent if he doesn't see it. And this beauty of this island, the way we do things, no board member touches a check other than to sign it. We don't write checks. We can't spend money. We don't approve any of that.
Nothing.
It's all done internally through our auditors and through this. And
I'm the last
audit this year.
And I'm the last line of approval.
Right.
And our audit has always been clean. Thank God. So since I've taken over, thank God. And we're very fortunate, you know.
And just on a final note, because you happen to be on tonight, it's wonderful for Thomas to tell us sitting here that this is 6 months into the year. And we're better than budget. We're more solid financially than we've been in the last 12 years, would you say?
Correct. If we go back to 2017, if you remember, go back to 2018, we had to take we actually took out a loan to make up reserve money that we would take borrowing because operations wasn't doing well.
Right.
In 2017. So we've come a long way since then.
And our reserves are the best they've ever been. Doing construction, development without any assessments.
Without any assessments. So we're very fortunate. And we are constantly every month improving the island. You know, as you see, the deli is going to be now courtside, and it's going to have gelato. It's going to have more grab and go. It's everything is expanding. And when you see that expansion, it costs money. And it's coming from, thank God, money that we have squirreled away and have put away and made it secure.
And what we've done is a few years ago, we put together a 5-year plan, capital improvements, operational improvements. and we prepared for it. And it's
working.
and it's at the helm.
And it's working.
Well, I thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Look forward to working with you for a lot of years.
Me too.
And
I
I
enjoy
can't
it.
wait to hear you say that you'll do this for nothing, because I see this coming now.
That's when but that's when I retire. Then I will do it.
I misunderstood. Okay. So you were for the time.
But no, if you're going to have a university, and I love to talk to people and guide them and try to add something to their life that makes it just a little bit easier for them.
Well, we're going to do it.
Okay?
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I think you just met 3 amazing people, and now you understand why I'm so excited when I do this, because to work with the kind of people we have here, Arleen, CJ, and Thomas, you have an idea of why Williams Island is as successful as it is. And there'll be more to come, because we will be interviewing the rest of the staff as time goes on. We want you to understand who they are, what they do for you, and why they work so hard for us, all of us. So on behalf of the Board of Directors of Williams Island, I want to say thank you. If you have any questions, there's anything you want to know about, please always feel free to contact Jeff Klein in the office. And again, I want to say thank you to Jeff, because he has done and is doing and continues to do an amazing job as our COO. And it's probably one of the most wonderful things we've done is he's come in, he didn't miss a beat, and he's kept our team working and things going along as smoothly as we had hoped. Have a wonderful day, and we look forward to seeing you in the next couple of weeks.